we talked about these boys and their play styles and how aggressive they can be. So I want to take a look at the draft. Yes. We have French versus Malians. We'll touch on that in a second. But KT banned from both. They are not taking any risks.
They are not taking any risks. And then the classic handshake exchange. One, the higher seeded takes their has their pick of the litter, right? The litter being Rus or HRE, let's be realistic. And it is going to be Rus for LucifroN. Personally, I favor them a little bit as well, especially now. Whereas kiljardi, on the other hand, takes HRE, one of his favorite picks for sure. So, as you'd expect, they're followed up by the little deviants where we're starting to see, right, as drafts go different ways. We see kiljardi being denied House of Lancaster, whereas LucifroN is denied China on the other side. And then kiljardi actually takes Mongols, LucifroN takes Japanese further on by then him being denied Lancaster, taking Ottomans instead, followed by JD and Jushi. kiljardi is then left with Byzantines, Ayyubids, as well as Abbasid in turn. So the draft, pretty good for both players again. With the way these draft layouts are in EGC Masters Summer, it's you usually have some sort of adaptability, and it's tough to end up with a terrible draft, I would say, as long as you have some idea about what you're doing. And we can see that the case being here, both of them have access to two of the best civs in the game in the form of Rus and HRE. Meanwhile, we have some strong secondary picks, which are map dependent, right? We have Mongols really good on something like Scandinavia, maybe even Dry River, Excavation, of course. Byzantines is pretty good on a lot of maps, same with Ayyubids and Abbasid. LucifroN Japanese is also very versatile nowadays, same with Ottomans, and JD and Jushi, of course, needs no introduction.
Well, you guys may have seen this on my face, but I was very confused there for a second as we had China missing. So we'll look at that in a moment. But guys, head to head, this does not look completely correct, as we do see that oh my gosh, wait, no, that is correct. 16-0, Myriad. What? LucifroN is the king here.
Yeah, it's a pretty decisive little all-time head-to-head here, right? I mean, here's the thing, right? Both of these players are really known for their relentless aggression, their relentless execution when it comes to these games. And LucifroN is a player that has shown to be the king of that time and time again throughout the years. kiljardi, on the hand, is almost like a disciple, right? He's a lot like LucifroN in that regard, but never quite managed to get the same results. So, you know, as strange as it is to say, it's almost a meeting of styles here that are very, very similar, and one just happens to be more successful with it historically than the other. As to whether that's still the case, we will find out as we do load into game number 1 here in the knockout bracket for EGC Masters Summer. LucifroN in his signature and feared French pick in the color green, facing kiljardi in the color orange, as the Malians, one of his good picks as well. And Gorge is quite a nice neutral map here to start us off on.
Definitely getting gorged, but French and gorged, they do pretty well as well. But at the same time, Malian, when you are on a map where you only need to defend one side, Malians, they do pretty well as well. The thing is just, we saw that Malians used to be a hard counter for French, but I think there are some question marks now. What do they match up like? And this is something I guess these boys will show us today. I want to point out, though, those head-to-head statistics, they are quite old, because LucifroN did take a bit of a break. And we saw the last time they faced off was in Beast of the Hill and the El Reynado qualifiers a long time ago, last year, October, when these guys faced off against each other. So this is very, very different as far as the matchups go. LucifroN has been historically a top 4 player, but since his break, he's really struggled to hold on to that top 8 position sometimes. So failing to qualify for the LAN event just barely. And we'll see now if he does make it through here. This is not the same LucifroN that he faced off against a few months back. Now, of course, LucifroN, he came back swinging, and he is still decent, and people fear him completely. But kiljardi, he's also not the same man from back then. He's definitely grown a lot since then. But oof, seeing all that sheep, that's not going to feel too nice for Mr. LucifroN.
Yeah, quite a bit of a strange scouting pattern to start us off with on this map by LucifroN. I have to say, I've never seen anyone scout like this on this map before. Certainly a bit unique here, and so far hasn't favored him too much in the sheep department. But if he gets up to that western corner there, he might still be able to pick himself up some. And as you mentioned, LucifroN's break definitely hindered him just a little bit, right? We have noticed, I mean, I wouldn't say a drop in performance from his past self. It could very well be the case, and this is most likely the case, that the competition has just improved. It just makes sense. This is always the case in these games, right? So just not playing as much means that he has obviously decreased slightly and stagnated, but is now, after being caught up to speed, finds that, of course, people have evolved as well while they kept playing in that entire time that he was away. So, as a result, it'll take him a little bit while longer to maybe get up to the same speed he was at before. And, I mean, up against Kiljardi here, he's really going to be tested, without a doubt, in the way he favors most likely, which is that aggressive playstyle. As, make no mistake, these games between these two promise to be incredibly explosive.
I'm so excited to see that. And yeah, I think this is something that I was actually talking to a few players about, where they used to see Marine Lord, Beastie, Vortex, and LucifroN in the top 4 pretty consistently. Then Puppy Paw and Wham broke through. Then there was Anatand era, and so on. Now we have Louis dominating. They're at the top as well. There's constantly names being cycled in and out, and that just shows the increase in skill. But oh my goodness, he's going for a barracks, and it's pretty early. He wants to make sure that that first knight that hits does not hit anything. So that is going to be a pretty tough target for him to land, but we'll see what the follow-up is behind this. Now, LucifroN is already banking quite a bit of gold here, so I'm expecting to see it going the one way we do see it go pretty usually with the pro scouting. Ooh, there we go. It's been clicked.
I do wonder here a little bit for kiljardi, though. I think, these early barracks, it's prudent, right? You're going to have the spears to defend against the knight and deny the pro scouts. Keep your vil safe if you want to finish building that pit mine, or build a secondary one earlier as well. However, French is going pro scouts, and you're not, or at least you're delaying yourself. And I feel like you're putting yourself in a bit of a dangerous position by giving away all these dare to LucifroN's French here. Because although the Malian army is no slouch in the feudal age at all, having access to less food against the Knight Civ, I think is a pretty scary position to be in. So kiljardi, if he does skip the Pro Scouts entirely, which seems to be the case, although he hasn't queued up any other economic upgrades, that's something he's going to have to be very careful about here in this game.
Him producing this many spears definitely puts him in a position where all that wood that he would have spent on getting the mill, getting the upgrade, it has been delayed significantly. And we can see he is just trying to get that second bit mine, but that villager might pay the price. The spearman is standing there at the ready to do some damage, but he does the damage and the villager goes down. That is a massive pickup for LucifroN already. Keeping in mind, this is Malians, they do have passive income eventually, but losing a vil this early feels pretty tough. Now with the archery range follow-up, that's just going to mean that these spears are not going to be able to shut down the pro scouts that easily. This one knight is now keeping 4 donzos occupied, which is just going to again mean that he is able to go pick up every bit of resource that he wants. In kiljardi, he's got 500 gold in the bank, and he doesn't have a plan with it just yet.
Yes, I've got to say, this just looks a little bit confused here by kiljardi. I mean, there's no wheelbarrow, there's no horticulture, there's no specialized pick, no double rollbacks, no pro scouts. So much gold not being utilized here for kiljardi. We do have a double mill. Okay, now we see double upgrades queued up at the same time. Maybe just a little bit of distraction here for kiljardi, being focused on dealing with that knight, making sure he gets this pit mine up nice and early. I do like the choice of going for this second big pit mine super early here. Trying to leverage the space that he has because of LucifroN's pro scouts. That is going to delay his knights and his archers to get this up and running and not need to worry about it later. But, the delay on the upgrades is still something that will be felt somewhat. But kiljardi is playing the tried and true here, just very classic Malians. The javelins with the Donzo is going to make for a really difficult army to break, even for the French here in this feudal age. So as long as the micro is on point, I think kiljardi should be able to cope just fine if he keeps at least his deer safe.
And the thing is, luckily for him, those deer are on the same side, so there's a better chance at doing so. Now, what I absolutely love to see is the fact that LucifroN, he's active, even though he's pro scouting. He's constantly forcing kiljardi to react in his base and not be able to move out. Now, the pro scouts, they do take a while to pay off, and the while should be kicking in, I would say, around a minute and a half from now, when the production just cannot be matched by Malians for now, because Malians, they are not just investing in units, they're also investing in cows. As we can now see, those cows are being produced. The upgrades, like I said, a little bit delayed, possibly just because he was completely overwhelmed by the amount of actions from that one night and just trying to get that pit mine up. Now, the cows are being eaten at the moment, so their passive income has not started ticking just yet. Beautiful reaction here by kiljardi. Very, very quick.
Yeah, Donzo's in position, but they're slightly behind the villagers. Charge comes through again, but kiljardi will once again react just in time. But the villager got abandoned by the Donzo, so is now found by the knight. Sneaky little pickup here by LucifroN. Takes down another villager. And, you know, 1, 2, maybe 3 villagers, you don't mind losing as Mali so much in this matchup initially. Like, it's not great, but it's not horrible either. You can manage, you have the cows, you have the pit mines, you have the good, solid composition that you can defend with. But they start mounting up pretty quickly, and the more of them you lose, the worse it gets, especially because of French's faster villager production speed. You can see, although LucifroN only killed 2, he's actually ahead by 7 already at this point in time. As we mentioned, the spawn is so nice here for kiljardi. He has pretty much all of his food towards that right side of the map, where his big gold vein is as well. So as long as he just defends his position, keeps his deer safe, keeps his gold safe, he should be able to contest that Pro Scouts mass from LucifroN. He just has to be so careful with getting stretched thin on these fronts.
Now, this is a pretty heavy mass that you need to move around constantly, but they just don't have that mobility. And when you're up against 5 and soon to be 6 knights as they're making their way forward, it's not something you directly want to engage into. But at the same time, those knights, they run pretty fast, and they're going to be able to get into your wood line if you aren't careful. One knight splits off from the rest, I would say, but no. The man knows his value. He does not need to die alone. But LucifroN, being ahead in villages, he's probably happy with that, with the damage he's done, picked up 2. But he's looking for more. He wants to get the deer on that side as well, as we see that big mass just moving around. And kiljardi, he's pulling his units backwards because he knows exactly what can happen when the knights eventually engage into him.
Yes, and LucifroN, I think he's perfectly content just getting the kiljardi deer for now. Those far away ones, the secondary deer pack. And after that, you might look to... Oh, but we're seeing the LucifroN special. I remember this. He's done this before. It's this semi-investment into units in Feudal Age with the archers, with the knights, just keeping pressure on kiljardi, force him to keep investing and unsure of how many units he's making in. And then once that deer is in, survival techniques is in, he's got most of his upgrades, he's going to go for this tech up and look to surprise kiljardi imminently with it. And this forces kiljardi into the sticky position, because if he doesn't invest adequately enough, he will get overrun by the tech advantage. But if he over-invests into units, then eventually, you know, he's going to be forced to stay too long in the Feudal Age, and the same thing will happen, but later down the line if he doesn't take a good enough engagement. So it's a really scary position to be in like this, being an age down behind. 2 workers have gone down. LucifroN moves into the gold mine once again to try to pick off another, but manages only idle time instead. It's kiljardi. He's trying to decide. We can see, right? I mean, there's no more units in production. Steeled Arrow is on the way. Undermesh is still out for him. Same with LucifroN, actually. No Steeled Arrow or Undermesh. So he's fine for now, in theory.
Now, he's fine, but kiljardi is also in a position where once he ages up, that economy is going to explode. So honestly, kiljardi is probably pretty happy with this position, I say, before the night raid will hit. Now, these knights, they are going to take quite a punch before actually going down, especially because the army was forced to move out of the base. But now this is time. that French also gets. At the same time, you want to delay Malians constantly. There's 15 cows already in pens. This is a pretty scary Malian age up, especially when the army numbers look like they are. So once he gets to that point where he does click it up, that's going to be 1-2 minutes before this goes out of hand, and LucifroN is going to struggle to contain it. But we do see some movement there onto the stone, and I don't know if that is just to build the second TC to actually try and stay up to level with the economy from the Malians. But it could be risky. It could be so risky, especially when the Malian army starts pumping. And we know, we've seen them zerg around the map. LucifroN has seen them zerg, and he's come from StarCraft. He knows what this could be. The food running out under the TC as well. This could spell a lot of trouble.
It's scary. It's scary without a doubt here for LucifroN. It's such a tight timing he has to make work here as we see him moving aggressively. The tower is up on the day here from kiljardi, so that's going to provide some additional respite. But the mass is really nice. The javelins are going to be able to snipe out the archers, but they do move in a bit prematurely into the knights maybe. The donzos are there to contest. You can see how long these veteran knights take to fall, even when surrounded by donzos like that. But the mass is still really nice. This is a perfect balance here found by kiljardi. Just enough units to defend and make sure that he wins a fight decisively if it comes to it. But also not too many to delay his age up too much, as Fulani Corral is now 60% of the way finished here for him. And he's going to be in a pretty good spot. Like you mentioned, the cows, 18, almost 4 ranches now for kiljardi. The food income is going to explode once the corral is fully constructed there. And LucifroN, he's rushing stone like you mentioned. I do wonder if this is for a second TC, but it can also be for a keep, just to get that discount in coming quite soon, which will be very effective. Dive comes through for LucifroN now. There's still no undermesh actually for him in here. There's not much damage to find as kiljardi reacts pretty quickly to that raid. Meanwhile, Donzo finding a couple of scouts, taking some more there once again.
Now, it does look like the stone has been overmined, which means we are probably going to be seeing a keep, especially when you need to move out onto that very exposed gold. It does feel like a safe place to go, but of course you want to put it between your production buildings because it will discount them. So I'm really interested to see what LucifroN's choice is here, but you see he's stacking a lot of food. He does not have the gold to make this same level of production for everything, right? Because that gold is running out, he needs to move out, and now this Malian army is slowly going to grow and grow and grow. So I'm excited to see where that keep is going to go down. It could just be defensive or a situation where he wants to secure himself against the raids of kiljardi. Because once kiljardi moves out and he denies a gold, this is going to be so hard for him to get back from. But this is on the other side of the map. So kiljardi, he is looking on the wrong side if he wants to do the real damage now. But they are going to do it on the production. So this means LucifroN wants those discounted units. He is going to make sure that these raids hit, and they hit hard.
A raid is what he will need, you know. The Fulani is completed, so the food income is now skyrocket high for kiljardi in this game. So the only real respite for LucifroN on this one is to find damage, which he's trying his best to do, right? Another villager does go down there, but these knights are diving very deep, and again, there's still no undermesh here for LucifroN. These knights are veteran, and of course, they're French knights at the end of the day, so they're very bulky. They'll still take extra damage from these arrows. Idle time achieved, however, but these knights have to be so careful not to get trapped. Is the wall up? The wall is being built, but it's not going to go up just yet. They're going to manage to squeeze through, pick up another villager, but the army's in position from kiljardi mostly. He's going to be able to pick off a good few of these knights as they escape, and these are pretty big losses for LucifroN to take for just 2 villages. I think he lost something like 4 or 5 knights maybe for 2 villages there. Not exactly numbers you're happy with in this position as LucifroN. The keep is now up. The discount around the influence will be very useful here for him, but is it enough to offset this Malian cow boom? I don't think so. We see 1,300 food income per minute for kiljardi. There's only 300 for LucifroN. The day are running out for him, and the more this goes, I think his hopes for the game might be next as well, as kiljardi, he's just swelling this infantry mass further and further. I mean, you could very comfortably even start adding some sofas in here to begin raiding with as well.
Yeah, this is a tough position as French because you realize, hey, I did not do enough damage to actually make this worth it. I've just lost a massive chunk of my army. You guys can see the destroyed value there, 5,100. That's a majority of knights that he has paid the price with. But he is floating resources now, and the guild hall is looking ready, so he's going to go up to Imperial. He has topped it out, and we are going to see where that Red Palace goes. Red Palace is quite defensive, though. This Red Palace is going to secure a big area of his base, possibly even extending into that second gold there at the top. Not fully covering, but making sure that those dives are not going to be as easy. So it might delay the game a bit, but if Kiljardi just goes from the other side and tries to do damage through there, he might be able to pick up some villages, especially considering they're still in that back wood line as well. They have not moved to safety just yet. Now, Kiljardi, knowing that his opponent is an Imperial, we'll see what he goes with. But this feels like one of those positions where you know you cannot kill him outright into the Red Palace, especially not without the siege numbers. Red Palaces, they tickle quite hard. So him going for Imperial Age would make a lot of sense, and with the amount of resources we see him banking, he's thinking about exactly that.
I mean, can we just like appreciate the craziness of this Red Palace? The man causing Guild Hall with 200 food per minute income and spends all that food on going to the Imperial Age. I mean, this is just insane to me. It's ridiculous that he chooses to go this, but it actually makes just so much sense when you think about it, right? I mean, he has 5 relics. The Red Palace is going to make it so difficult for Kiljardi to push into his base with his, squishy, weaker than general units here as the Malians. That Zerging strat will really be countered by the Red Palace and the Arbalest emplacements, making it so hard to get value from diving. So theoretically, if LucifroN can extend this game long enough, and the Red Palace will certainly help with that, then he should somewhat outscale here with the villager production. Second TC going up as well here for LucifroN on the large gold, and Kiljardi is mirroring with his own age up behind this. Fort of the Hunters coming up on the southern sacred site now, and this is a great position by Kiljardi. He's going to be able to fully secure this spot here. The market is going to be under his influence as well with the wars going up. So it's not like he's gonna fall prey to map pressure with keeps here from LucifroN or anything like that. He's definitely going to be safe from a sacred side timer or that kind of a play, as it can be scary with the French and their keeps. But this is going to get spotted out by LucifroN as the archers will go for the villagers who do react fast. One will go down, almost.
So when we get into this position on Gorge, I feel like the game can end in the next 5 minutes or the next 45 minutes. So we might be in for a long round here, Myriad. And honestly, I feel like all of this could be my fault because I said this could be a quick series between these two. But that second TC from LucifroN tells us he realizes, hey, I need to catch up to Malian Eco. He knows he can outscale. But in the late game, my big question is, does that food eco that's coming naturally without the investment of villages just not make up for it? But at the same time, you also have keeps with production buildings around. So, of course, they do have that discount already. So, in essence, I feel like they could cancel each other out pretty well, right?
They do indeed. They definitely do. There's a lot of bonuses for either side here, right? You got the cows, like you mentioned, the passive gold for the Malians as well. They can run on a smaller economy and field a bigger army compared to most civilizations just fine because of that cow boom. For French, of course, you have the influence as well as the guild hall, which will somewhat offset the passive golds problem from the Malians especially, where they can outlast you in terms of gold. Well, the guild hall will prevent that, so we see... This is the classic, right? We have the one-time guild hall for the food to get the imp, then you get another food which will come in at about 2,000, 3,000 when you're about halfway done with your farm transition, so that will tide you over even better. And then you can essentially set it to gold and forget about it for minutes until suddenly you have upwards of 5,000 gold to come in, which can often actually just decide the game outright at that point in time later down the line. Kiljardi, however, his food income is definitely still favored for now. He has his imp. I feel like he should start to recognize what LucifroN is doing here. It's a very un-LucifroN thing to do, to play for this scaling game. But I think it makes complete sense in this matchup, in this game state in particular, with those 4 relics, with the way LucifroN decided to play it. This is quite optimal. We see a third town center now going up for him as well. So he's fully online to scale. So Kiljardi I think he does need to stop pressuring this a little bit. LucifroN's getting away with a bit more than he should be compared to the army that he's fielding, right? We need to get some of those bombards in, maybe some of those trebuchets in if you want to deal with the Red Palace, and you can really start contesting some of this map control.
It's such a tough spot because kiljardi knows the ability of LucifroN. If he moves out, LucifroN's going to attack him, and he feels this constantly. LucifroN is in his base the whole time. Now a horseman switch also making this a lot harder for him. And kiljardi is doing something Malians doesn't usually do. He's playing defensively because of his respect and knowledge that LucifroN is just an absolute aggressive menace on this map. And you can see those knights, they're still looking for a way in. Massive chunk of the army, oh, actually, the full army chasing after them. Now with the horses being able to sneak in on the other side, they are going to be able to see at least what the situation is with the economy here. But we are set up in a very defensive position. Neither of these players seem like they can break through the other one. And with the upgrades coming in now, this is the Arbitriers. They are going to be quite nice as another part of this composition, but I'm waiting for the siege here because we need to break through people, and right now there are no breaking through anyone. With Malians also getting their sofa upgrade, it's going to make it quite nice for raids, but the problem is you're raiding French, and French, they have that palace just protecting everything they need to protect. So it is going to be quite hard, and the TC's also firing back. Pretty disgusting.
It's so potent, isn't it? I mean, you go for these raids that you know where the economy is, you know where to direct your damage, but there's a TC there, or there's a keep there, right? The amount of value you can extract from that raid is diminished so severely because you essentially need almost double the units you would need to get the same amount of damage, specifically because of how fast they will die to those arbalest emplacements. It really makes it disheartening to raid French in these situations, and it's such a potent strength for French to have, making them a really strong late-game civilization courtesy of this defensive bonus. And however, kiljardi is starting to recognize that, right, and knows the pressure that's being exerted on him with this stalling game that LucifroN is playing for. So he just needs some siege, right? He just needs a bit of siege before this Arbaletier mass gets way too out of hand, because I mean, Bolt, you mentioned it earlier, that unit is just incredible in the ultra late game. The attack speed from stirrups, the extra armor from the extra melee armor from the other upgrade as well. I forget the name of. Royal Bloodlines coming in as well behind this, but also the Pavis making them virtually impervious to range damage. Is there a better all-around unit than the Arbaletier?
Of course not. And the fact that Baltoon said it in his interview, in the next game we're going to be seeing that level of power coming in. It was decided by the gods, Myriad. This was fated before any of us. And kiljardi is just making more Donzas, but the problem is Donzos are not going to do too well against these. We can see with the Pavis, right? When they activate it, they just have more armor. It's going to be so hard to take them down. The thing that kiljardi does have is invisibility on his units. So we'll see if he's going to be able to utilize this to surprise. But the thing is, both of these civilizations is being so defensive right now. In their bases, at least. They are not going to be faced off against any of that. There's no surprise attacks coming on in. The horseman raids, they're coming in, and quickly they're going to be leaving. The problem is, LucifroN's going to be able to build up a massive, massive bank behind this once he reaches max pop. And kiljardi is constantly spending. It feels like the units that kiljardi is making is just going to put him back so much more. The Sofa's doing a little bit of damage here to the economy, but when you have about this many TCs, you don't mind replacing a few of those.
Yeah, this is just such a... Well, I want to say unique, but we have seen this before. Namely, I think Mister is the one who really started making this play iconic with the French. Just this imp-based scaling game with the keeps, with the town centers, playing a really slow, methodical game here as the French. It's a very unique playstyle for them. It kind of goes against how most people expect French to be played. It's the complete opposite, essentially. But you can see just how effective this can be. Just look at the upgrades for LucifroN. The last one is now queued up and about to finish. It's beautiful seeing all the green there as all the upgrades are in. It's quite nice, actually. But I have to say, I'm surprised by kiljardi's lack of aggression in this game. It's very uncharacteristic of him. and he really placed a lot of respect on LucifroN's position here, more than it deserved, frankly. I feel like he really could have done more damage with some earlier siege if he so chose. Most of his army has been idle for a lot of this game, but Clash does come in. LucifroN finally decides to poke the beast as he moves forward with his rage mass. We see elite archers, elite arbaletiers with incendiary arrows in. Definitely a scary back line, but there's a lot of mass here from kiljardi. You can see all the economic difference favored for LucifroN's economy, but at the same time means that kiljardi's army is so much bigger as a result, and these trades are so good for him as this mass from LucifroN is very, very slow. Meanwhile, LucifroN splits off with some horsemen, goes directly for those ranches to start raiding, but the reinforcements are coming in on the front line as well, so kiljardi can't stay here forever. He can't keep pushing, right? There will be keeps in the way, so a bit of a stalemate, but that definitely favored kiljardi, that fight, according to the destroyed value.
Now, kiljardi must be pretty happy with this engagement, but the problem is still, how is he going to break through French? There's just nothing that he can do to break through any of this. You see, the food as well. LucifroN just not collected yet, but not switching over to the next resource either. He's still got gold at the back, but this is going to start getting very expensive. We now see that horseman switch, like you said. It is the ultimate composition, especially with the orbs right next to them. Now, cutting off the gold income from the sacred side, pretty good move here. He's definitely going to want to limit French, but it's not going to cripple him whatsoever. He's moving out to the side that does not have a million reinforcements, and he might actually be able to do some damage here. And finally, Maria, do you see what kiljardi has in queue?
About time. Quite a bit late, I have to say. If only he had this like 10 minutes earlier, I really feel like he could have started breaking in LucifroN's foundations in his base and really punishing him, as now he finally discovers a keep that's going up on this gold. Nicely spotted there by kiljardi, cleans up the villagers and now secures that position. You can't let that go up. I mean, LucifroN's throwing up these keeps with impunity at this point. Just look, even on kiljardi's side of the map, there's just keeps everywhere, Mareka. It's actually shameless what this man is doing. kiljardi has to punish this, and the bombards should enable that slowly and steadily. Meanwhile, more raids seep through. These Royal Bloodlines horsemen are a real nuisance to deal with here for kiljardi, as the sofas are slower than them, the donzos are slower than them. They just take so long to actually clean these up, and every time they come in, kiljardi is bleeding just a little bit more. However, LucifroN, now with what can accurately be described as a critical arbaletier mass, is going to look to press forward. Now, theoretically, these arbaletier aren't the best choice against most of kiljardi's army. Well, the bonus damage is only applied to the sofa, them being the only armored units in the Malian's arsenal. However, the mass here from kiljardi is so scary. You should theoretically have enough to break this, but with the Pavis going up, you can see how reticent he is to actually engage into this. I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised. Opting only to micro with the javelins to focus the arbaletier directly. Pavis has run out. LucifroN broke the ranks and Pavis is finished now, so kiljardi jumps at the chance, goes in directly. The army moves into position and looks to swarm over this arbaletier mass. And there's just so many units here from kiljardi. The income behind this is not looking very healthy. I gotta say, the bank difference is quite astoundingly in favor of LucifroN right now. So kiljardi needs a lot more bombards to start pressing forward and really breaking LucifroN, taking advantage of his superior army mass here. But it just feels quite slow.
It feels like that build-up is just not gonna have the time. The problem is just kiljardi doesn't have a way to kill him. He keeps taking these favorable trades and he's doing an amazing job at doing so, but how does he break through this French fortress? So now the horsemen, they're going to keep trading in. We see the banks. The banks are telling a very telling story. LucifroN is able to remax this. The economy count from LucifroN is looking wonderful. He's trading, but he knows it's effective because he can easily replace everything. Horsemen now trying to get some damage done. And again, it feels like a little bit of a stalemate. We're going to keep seeing these engagements a little bit to the face, a little bit to the base. A little bit to the face, and we just go back to our little base. It's just back and forth, and I don't know if Kiljardi has enough kill in his name to take down LucifroN's pretty heavily reinforced base. Now, LucifroN is trying to find a way through to find some economy to take down, but again, he's going to be running into the keep. He knows about this, but he feels like the horses, they will do the damage. Now with that bombard, he's able to take down a keep there on the side, but is that going to be enough?
Is that going to be enough? That is the question, right? I mean, Yardi has been sitting on this massive, oppressive army for so long, but is yet to find real, discernible value with it outside of taking some good fights, which is to be expected with such an army, right? That's like the bare minimum, really. But surprisingly, LucifroN still hasn't called in the guild hall here. There's so much food in the bank. He must have forgotten about it at this point. Like, there's no way. I mean, there's 3.5k food income per minute from those farms. Surely at this point, I mean, there's just no... You just don't need that food anymore. So he must have forgotten it. It's kind of useless anymore at this point. We'd love to have it on gold instead, but it doesn't seem to mind too much with the gold bank he already has, and other raids seeping through as well. Once again here from LucifroN, more and more damage being found. Kiljardi never went for that second DC, never went for that trade, and he's still playing this mass composition of just essentially every unit type he can make almost, but just can't seem to really break through with it.
Now, with all of these units running around, he has definitely got his attention divided. But the problem with the Malian's base is, the Malian's base is not made of red palace. And unfortunately, there are no emplacements that will fend off any army running towards him. You see, with the amount of units streaming towards his base, every single time something gets killed, it will get replaced. Those cows right now, they're just standing outside their pens, and if a mango shot hits them, those things are, never mind, no mango shot needed. There's everything else as well. And even with the superior army numbers, this is such a tough army to beat. They are just looking for blood. Now, he is under the DC, and it could spell some trouble because he's about to get sandwiched. This is going to be a surround. The mangonels need to be careful. They're trying to get a pretty good hit there. There is a little bit of a corner that everyone is backed into, so this does mean he could potentially get a good shot off. Focus on the back, but it does look like this round will be enough to clean up this army. The thing is, the LucifroN is able to remax this pretty quickly. And Kiljardi doing the same, but he did take a bit more damage in the end. Oh my goodness, look at that destroyed value Myriad. He has obliterated things, but it's not enough.
Obliteration is the word for sure. And the question is it enough, right? I mean, the bank from LucifroN is ridiculous, isn't it? Over 10,000 resources in the bank here for him, so he can so comfortably remass. He's already at 200 out of 200 again after taking, honestly, one of the most one-sided fights I've seen in a long time because of that flank from Kiljardi. That's the thing, it's so hard to take good fights up against Malians like this because of that army mass. He has double LucifroN's army mass essentially here, but not that ahead in army value, courtesy of those Malian units. And, you know, I mean, the thing is, like, this can keep going for so long. Both of the economies are so strong here for either side. LucifroN, we did see him now, just that elite knight upgrade is finishing up. I think what LucifroN has in mind here, and it looks like he did call in that guild hall, I'm pretty sure. So, I think the idea here is just force another fight like this and remass completely into knights potentially and look to break it that way. But is that gonna work realistically? I mean, there's 60 Donzos on the field. Musafadi gunners behind this as well. I don't know if it will.
Now, this army feels pretty scary to be up against, but that is a pretty good bombard to have. The problem is good bombards die to good horseman raids, and those horsemen are looking like they're ready to fight. Opetiers pulling back now. The sofas are barely going to be touching anything. Mangonels plowing through this army. And the horseman numbers, they are not going to be forever as the switch is coming back in. We have enough gold in the bank. We have enough food in the bank, and the night switch will be coming on out. Now, this is going to mean that these units are going to need to fire a little bit harder to actually take down this army. Mangonels are doing great work, but firing in the wrong direction right now. They need to be focused on these clumps of units, and they find the focus. Kiljardi is down to 160 supply, and we see only Donzos in the queue. This might be the alarm of being overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think it is the case. Just the mangonels with the upgrade from the Siege Workshop. I forget the name of it, just slips my mind right now. Special Mangon upgrade. The damage ends up being severely high for them in the end here. So it makes it so hard for Kiljardi to take these fights without the bombards necessary to destroy them. And it's not like he can dive them effectively. Those crossbows, Garboletrie holding in position on top of them. Another massive knight switch for LucifroN could be enough to break Kiljardi in this game number 1. As you can see how much Kiljardi is struggling to remass behind this. The raids from LucifroN, the lack of a secondary economic output, no second TC, no trade, means it's so hard for him to remass. LucifroN has a guild hall ticking with gold behind this, growing ever steadily, now setting up trade as well. LucifroN's experience in this late game really starting to shine through here, and I think Kiljardi is quite severely on the back foot now.
Kiljardi realizes that this late game, trying to match the late game of the French, might not have been the best call, because now your opponent has just this premium army, all of a sudden, of knights instead of horses. Now those Donzos are still going to do well, but they're not going to do as well as they did before. We do see the armies doing a little bit of a switch around one another, so I don't know if he's going to be pulling back and trying to match this army, but it looks like they are about to go head to head. I was wondering if he would try to respond to this or just try to go for a flank himself, but the problem is, again, you're up against a base that can defend itself, and you are barely going to be touching it. The knights now connecting almost into the Donzos, but they do pull back so they don't get impaled. Arbiters doing so much work. Mangonels at the backline are ready to support, and he's just trying to pull back into this keep to try and get that little bit of advantage that he has on the defense.
Yes, the mass here of mangonels is critical from LucifroN, and Kiljardi knows he needs so many Donzos to deal with these knights, but the Donzos will die not only to the Arbaletier, but this 6 mangonel mass from LucifroN. The damage is absolutely massive as the boulders roll in from the top rope, as one would say, onto the sacred side fight here. There's a dive through coming in by Kiljardi onto the mangonels. 2 of them fall quickly to the Donzos. The remass is coming through from either side. You can see the economic difference is astounding at this point in time. It's just too much. It's too much for Kiljardi to take anymore in this game. Nitrates behind this elite bloodline, nitrates seeping in behind this onto the ranches, which did not get replaced. So the food income is suffering for Kiljardi now as well. Keep going up behind this for LucifroN onto this gold, stone and sacred side position. Meanwhile, keep at the front is proving useless in the face of these knights as these villagers are forgotten and abandoned here. Kiljardi unable to even keep up at this point in time. But what's there to keep up with anymore, really, as it's just too little, too late at this point in time for Kiljardi. It's just looking dire, and I don't think he's got much muscle left in this game.
You see the difference between these two rally points is that LucifroN is able to rally his units straight towards the base of Kiljardi, while Kiljardi was just trying to hold on to that position. Kiljardi has 3,000 stone in the bank, though. I'm not sure what his plan is with those bad boys, but LucifroN now finally adding in some trade to match that food economy. He says, if I'm going to be keeping the knight mass active, I'm going to need a lot of this. So now those mangonels not going to be doing too well against the keep. So we can see that the torches have been chosen, and that keep will not be long for this world forward to try and protect, but not going to be enough to stop this knight mass. The Donzos, though, they have something to say about this. The knights moving to the side, they're just going to ensure that they can get flanking a little bit here. Mangonels getting a beautiful shot on the front line. Donzos keep still alive. Sofa's trying to make magic happen here on top of the mangonels, but they are just not meeting its mark because there's not enough of them. They're all dead.
They're all dead. Like you said, magic is what's needed in this game for Kiljardi, but magic is not present in AoE4. This is a historical game, and the history of this game is one of devastation here for Kiljardi in game number 1. Has too much. There's just too much coming his way. These cheaper elite units from LucifroN are just so much to contend with, and GG is called after a big fighting effort here from Kiljardi in game number 1. It took a while for him to crack, but crack he did in the end. GG gets called, and LucifroN takes game number 1.
Now, I have a question. That dotted line on the economy count, is that the cow boom showing its power as well? Because that is an amazing line to see. Because you can see he was slightly ahead there for a bit. It just could not hold up. The moment that Imperial age came through from LucifroN, you can see that economy count just skyrocketed. He added the TCs. He was trying to make sure that this is his game because he knew his late game. He plays French so well and so often. So amazing showing here by him. With those 4 relics, he made this look pretty good, I would say. LucifroN looking like he's coming in here convincingly. But 42-minute game on Gorge, I must say, Mariette, we got off lightly.
We got off lightly. It could have been worse, right? It could have been worse, and a bit uncharacteristic of these two players, right? I think is part of it might be the interesting dynamic of, because both of these players probably know how aggressive either of them can be. They are both in turn maybe a bit reticent to be that aggressive, in fear of maybe slipping up or being forced into a mistake. It's an interesting dynamic to watch unfold. But like we mentioned, LucifroN and his French, this few forces more feared than that in the AOE4 Pro scene, that's for sure. Even now, after his break, this man knows how to use his knights. I still remember his historic victory against Marine Lord in the Elite Classic 1 in the French mirror against Marine Lord. That was a very great game. And ever since then, it was crystal clear that this man is a king when it comes to the French, and showcasing it once again in this game against the civilization and most people would consider do well against the French.
Now, LucifroN actually decided that he liked the French tempo he got from the previous game, and he says, let me just show you my JD as well. She's also got knights, and she's pretty tanky, especially if you let me keep getting to the late game. So on Excavation, a map we don't usually see much of because pretty new, and I think this is going to be a treat for all of us because Mongols, at the same time, it's a civilization that maybe does enjoy that late game as well. So we'll see how far each of these players push one another. But beautiful game here from LucifroN, and definitely going to be making kiljardi feel a little worried about going up against JD in the next round.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because on Excavation is such a unique map in its design. Of course, for those who are not aware or have not seen it before, this map is fully revolved around the Forgotten Ruins point of interest mechanic, which essentially the idea is that you can capture this point, garrison a villager inside, and this villager will give you an income of, I think it is 40 or 30 stone a minute, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a good amount of stone. So civilizations that can take advantage of that stone are very, very advantageous here. And I think after about 5 or 6 minutes of that stone income, you will excavate a full relic from that Forgotten Ruin. So all in total, I think there's about 6, 7, maybe 8 on this map. So a lot of relics, a lot of stone potential here. And that's something that's incredibly good for Mongols. We can see they have so many quirks that they can use the stone for here. Either double production with the villagers to essentially have a pseudo second town center really early in the game. Double military production to, essentially have supervision on their production buildings as China or Jushi would have and make so many units so early. Whereas JD, on the other hand, doesn't really use that stone effectively. But JD, like French, is one of those civs where, although they might not be the best for their map, they can be really punishing to face.
And that was exactly what I was thinking. LucifroN looks at the map. He says, open map, raidable map. Let me take JD. And that's what I think with Excavation you're also facing. You are in a position where you will get raided, where JD can secure corners, where she can secure areas quite easily if you don't get ahead. And Mongols hasn't been one of the civilizations that does too well when they don't just get to play their game. And when I say their game, I mean we usually see the tower rushing, etc., etc. But in this scenario, is he going to be able to do that, knowing he's playing against LucifroN, who historically, as you like to say, he's done pretty well against KJ here. So kiljardi, he's up against LucifroN, not just in the matchup, which Mongols should be okay in, early game at least, but he's also against himself, because now this is more than just a game, this is a mind game too, and he just felt the wrath of French. So the sister sibling, or the sister civilization, is not going to be any easier. Now, guys, we're ready to hop on in. So, are you ready for Mongol versus JD?
Oh, I'm
Now,
ready.
if this was anyone else, I would say Mongols would have a pretty good shot. But LucifroN on JD, he responds, and you can see that gold placement already. Oh, and we don't see anything on that Uwu just yet. But we do see the gold placement at the back, and he's responding, Myriad. He's responding before he even needs to.
Yeah,
That is LucifroN.
this is quite preemptive here from LucifroN, isn't it? I mean, he's taking no risks apparently. I'm a bit surprised by his own. I was going to say I'm surprised by his own lack of barracks, but I think that would be a pretty bold choice up against the Mongols, especially on this map. So he's just gonna, he's just gonna not finish the tower in case he needs it, and if he does not, he can just cancel it later on and it's fine. And also gets himself a little bit of extra experience from JD that way, right? Just in case he needs that tower later on. Kiljardi, however, he has a nice, I was going to say nice little spawn, but I don't think it's the best. He does have the wood line alongside that Uvu, but I think the Uvu is just out of range for that TC. So I think double villager production, yeah, it's not in range. So double villager production will not be an option here for him, but that might mean that he can scale better into the military side instead here for him, as his gold is pretty nice and safe all the way at the back. And this basically from Kiljardi, he's likely going to move over to LucifroN's side of the map, see how he can poke the gold. Then he's going to discover the tower and maybe start moving towards the points of interest. But actually, no. He's going to go for the points of interest straight away instead.
I'm actually quite surprised to see this as well. But this is something that kiljardi would do. He's a little bit wild. I mean, the map is a little bit wild too. So for us to watch this game, and I'm sure Twitch chat, YouTube chat, you guys are probably watching this and you're like, I don't really know this map that well. So these guys standing on top here, going for that point of interest, he just wants to make sure he secures this. So this is not the usual barracks opening you see into tower rushing. Well, LucifroN was ready for that. And I think, honestly, a very modest choice, or a very positive choice that he made here, already preparing for the follow-up as well. Because what Mongols does after this is not just the tower rush, they can also go into the Mangadai, which makes this so annoying to handle. So he's already set himself up for not having to deal with that by getting a tower on his gold. Now, 3 for the age up with the School of Cavalry, he's not rushing anywhere. But with the gold number climbing, I am going to be expecting him to. I was going to ask, is this a map for pro scouts, or will we not be taking any risks as such?
It's your standard map essentially, right? You have the 14 there aside for a total of 28. So it's not a bad pro scout map, and it's not a terrible pro scout map. If you can secure at least your deer pack, and ideally at least some of the opponent's deer pack, then that's kind of worth it. I think we're at a stage with pro scouts now where it's not, it's not a massive advantage on one of these regular maps anymore, as long as you're able to at least keep your side there safe. If you start bleeding some of your deer on the other side, that way you get into the position where the enemy not only has more better food than you, but it's also actively taking away your food from you at the same time. So that's when it gets a bit rough for sure, especially in these aggressive matchups here. So LucifroN likely going to go for those pro scouts, especially because of that tower. It means that his timing is not going to be that delayed as if he got pushed off of gold, and he can then in turn start prioritizing those deer and look for a timing to offset this early double production that Kiljardi is likely going to go for. I think Kiljardi here has 2 real options on his hand. He can either look to play a very aggressive initial early feudal age, punish LucifroN's pro scout timing, maybe even kill JD, and go for that castle age, or play just maybe one double produced batch of Keshiks, maybe some Mangodai, like you mentioned, keep LucifroN on edge slightly, and zoom straight towards a castle age behind it to go for that timing.
Now, with the Spearman, it does leave you not open to as much harassment, though, but of course, you still need to be able to follow up. and respond when those knights are run a little bit faster than you. Stable comes down, so we will be seeing some Keshiks. Now, Keshiks do okay, especially against knights because they can heal. But JD, she is going to look for some experience. So we see her heading on out, and now LucifroN also decapping that. Do we call it decapping? I guess so, right? Because this is a new word for us, decapping
It's captured, right? So you're decapturing it, I guess.
Okay, so now moving out to get some decaps going on in. And now my big question is, does JD get any experience from these bad boys? Because she's technically capping something. And we know how this works in Castle Age, but I'm sure the devs thought about that. She would just be snacking on any of those maps. But now double Keshik's being produced. And JD, she's kind of alone. And LucifroN is making scouts. So this is not a situation where he can protect her once those Keshiks come right for her. She's already getting bruised a little bit as the Khan is poking her, running around. And the Keshiks, ladies and gentlemen, they will be joining Miss JD on top of that point of interest.
It's definitely something you have to be careful of here as LucifroN, right? You're being aggressive with JD, which is useful, but against Mongols specifically, the threat of these double Mangudai, these double Keshiks now attacking JD, and I don't think she's actually long for this world anymore. I think she took too much damage already. She's definitely going to fall. Divine Embrace has been used before. It's still on cooldown. I'm not sure if it will come up before these Keshiks can run her down fully. And this is the issue you run into, right? You just forget a little bit about, the matchup for even a second. You don't think to recognize this threat, or maybe you do and you disrespect it. And the result of that, you can see here, JD just falls with little to no effort.
And that's a pretty massive loss here, because now he's gotten Wheelbarrow, and JD is going to be a little bit expensive to replace, especially at this point, with now kiljardi having another spear, adding Moors. Oh my goodness, guys, I've lost it. When JD died, my brain went along with her. But Keshiks, more of them coming as well. Now archery range to join this. kiljardi is going for rock, paper, scissors. He wants to cover every single one of his bases when he does this push. And this is... Ooh, I see something got cancelled there. Is kiljardi spicing it up a little bit, saving a little bit of resources? No, just more spears, he says. So this is going to be quite interesting, because from what I expected with this is I thought kiljardi was going to be a little bit greedy, try to get to castle, go from there. But what he's doing is, he's doing deer stones, but not with the Mangudai we usually see running around, causing havoc. He's just doing it with a normal old op, shutting down pro scouts. And as we can look at this map, we see that food is going to be very hard to come by, especially once these deer run out.
And I think it's really smart from kiljardi, actually. This is typically what JD and French specifically struggle with in this early feudal game. Going for those pro scouts, even for them, the technology is expensive. It's a big investment. Then you need scouts to gather the deer, which takes time. Then you need to finally start making units to defend those scouts that are taking the deer. It really does slow you down quite tremendously here, as JD, or French for that matter, as we say this though. Nice little raid found. One villager goes down. Second one almost loses his life as well. But it takes a while to get together respectable mass of knights and archers to start contesting this Mongol mass, which, I mean, we've touched on this in the past plenty of times, right? The classic knight archer up against horseman / in this case Keshik, spearman. And in these early numbers, it really favors the melee composition, because the burden of micro is so heavy on you as the French archer player. You have to snipe out those spears or your cavalry is virtually useless. And if you don't have the critical mass to one-shot those spearmen, essentially you can never take an effective fight, which is why you need to bide your time for those archer numbers here as LucifroN. And if you run out of food prematurely, then essentially the game is straight away finished. kiljardi recognizes this and is going to play supremely aggressive in this game. And you can see the power of Mongols on this map with 2 points of interest, the Forgotten Ruins under his control. The mass here from kiljardi is really impressive. 8 Keshiks, 9 archers, 10 spearmen, a Khan's Hunter as well for that initial range. Meanwhile, LucifroN is struggling to get together even half of that army population behind this, which includes his scouts, which will be useless in that fight. Of course, he has those knights, but kiljardi has the Keshiks as well, which aren't too far behind. kiljardi, however, is running into the issues of his severe production now, as the sheep are out.
Now, the food may have run out, but he's got a pretty solid deer back there behind his base that he gets to go out on because he's got the map control. And that is the beauty of map control. And don't mind if I do. Let me get some gold here. So he does get the burn on the building, does get the bounty on it. But now, the problem is the wood lines are getting secured by kiljardi. And kiljardi, once you get control of the wood lines as Mongols, now with the tower as well, thank you very much, kiljardi, for just sealing the deal. That's just going to mean the Khan is going to be able to shoot up, get his arrow, and take down any villas on wood. Villager almost goes down, but the Keshiks were very quick to respond. Kiljardi is showing us that aggressive play style that we were talking about, and he's doing wonderfully. When he's in the driver's seat, he's going to show LucifroN how to really be aggressive. Now, this wood line is going to get shut down yet again, and villagers don't really have anywhere to go.
And this woodline denial is so well played by kiljardi, right? He recognizes that the only real threat to him right now is a severe night mass, which is in turn prevented by spears, of course, countered by spears. But then what counters the spears is the archers. So if you can at least cut out one of those equations, which is of course the archers in this case, by limiting the wood, then it really sets you up for your army to be stronger when it comes to those engagements. LucifroN is forced into these situations where he has to raid, find some counter damage to give himself the space needed, even forward outposts now for kiljardi. The only criticism, however, here for kiljardi is that his aggression is fantastic, really well placed, but maybe a little bit over-aggressive, right? Only now did we have double broadaxe coming in. Again, there's a bit of a delay on these economic upgrades, which are so important in these extended feudal age situations, which is exactly what kiljardi is playing towards. So, you know, he could have exerted the same amount of control and influence with slightly less units, whilst having the upgrades behind this. So he's recognizing that now. Steel Arrow is coming in as well behind this. But definitely hurt him just a tiny bit. However, the pressure continues. Another tower going up on this wood line. And this squeeze that he's doing on LucifroN could really end up hurting in the long run against LucifroN here. But the knight count is building, as the one thing LucifroN can still access is gold and food.
Now that gold does look like it might be shut down pretty soon. JD though, she's loving a good pickup every now and again, but a villager going down definitely was not on her cards. But the problem is the food is running out for LucifroN, so he's got access to it, but for how long? Now, he is over there trying to get a little bit of wood while the army is completely distracted. And this is something that you kind of touched on. kiljardi is very much focused on one spot right now. Something that LucifroN is aware of, ensuring that he's raiding, picking up a village or two, or causing idle time. The problem is just...
Sorry to interrupt, but LucifroN couldn't even afford a lumber camp for that wood line in the south.
No.
That stuff's so painful to
I
watch.
was wondering.
Yeah.
I
Oh
can't
no.
believe it. Does get the tower down enough, but the villager is in range to prepare it just in time. Saved by the hammer.
That's
the villager
crazy.
does get it up, and he does finally get that lumber camp up. But the two houses as well. He was housed there for a second. The wood starvation definitely paid off. But now the 16 knights are starting to be a little bit of a worry here, because earlier the Keshik numbers and the knight numbers were pretty even, but now it's starting to be a little bit more worrying. As LucifroN, with that army, he could potentially still win this. Yes, there are 16 spearmen, but knights, pound for pound, they do a lot of work, especially if they can get those Keshiks down quickly without them actually attacking and getting healing off. But now the villagers might be in danger yet again. Again, it just feels like kiljardi is focused on one spot at a time, and LucifroN is exploiting this.
Exactly. When you are aggressive like this, yeah, you have to be very conscious of not getting just danced around too much. If you're idling eco, that's fine, but there's a limit at the end of the day. Eventually, you know, your opponent will get the resources he needs, and he can take that fight on their own side, on their own terms finally, and potentially clean you up. So having multiple raid groups, although risky and hard to control, it is kind of very useful to have in these kind of cases. Like even now, kiljardi could have a few knights hitting those berries that LucifroN is on at the same exact time. But it is a difficult spot to be in. Although it makes sense, it's tough to orchestrate this always without getting caught off guard. As LucifroN moves into position to take the tower, recognizing that kiljardi's army is out of position, doesn't manage to pick himself up a tower. More experience for JD as well, who is now about to cross the halfway mark towards her level up. Still some ways away, but one single engagement, especially with those high-value Keshiks there for kiljardi, could be the additional XP she needs, but would it be enough to actually turn the tide in these fights? There are a lot of knights here from LucifroN, and the Archer Mass is starting to look pretty healthy as well.
The Archer Mass is going to deal with these spears pretty easily if kiljardi does not micro them perfectly. So for me, this feels like kiljardi makes one mistake and he wins this. LucifroN overcommits and he loses this. It's just such... Oh, he doesn't make a mistake. The person who doesn't make the mistake, they win. And that is such a tough spot to be in because you know every action here matters. Usually your fate is not decided by one single mistake. But in this case, it is. Because these armies are such high value, they're not going to get replaced because you just have no more access to that high level of food. JD is starting to get a little bit of experience here and there. Keshik's trying to come on through to get some damage, but the knights are ready to tank. The spears are trying to reach right through. JD is loving this fight. Archers trying to focus fire those spears perfectly. Knights trying to body block as much as they can, and we now see the army value finally being in the favor of LucifroN.
Yeah,
This
it is
might
a
be
lot
it.
of knights, right? I mean, and the archers, there's good micro by LucifroN focusing on the spears. Two of the knights do get caught in the spearman bracer, so they fall swiftly. The recharge from the Keshiks is good. Picks up another two knights here from LucifroN, and a third as well. Quite a few knights killed in that engagement. Good little counter engage by kiljardi there. The good thing here for kiljardi is that his archers are better in the form of the additional range from the Khan's Hunter, as well as the signal arrows from the Khan, enabling a stronger position in these fights for him. The spear numbers are getting dwindled quite severely. There are a lot of Keshiks as well, however, and they don't trade too badly up against these knights, courtesy of that healing behind them. But kiljardi, a critical component he is still missing is that steeled arrow, only halfway done, so a bit hesitant to fully commit here, and I think that is the right choice. Not wanting to fully commit here, but there's a big problem. There was enough of a committal there for JD to get plentiful experience, and she is now seconds away from leveling up.
And with this one spot focus from KJ, he is just not seeing that now LucifroN gets to go out on the map and get the berries. This is going to be quite pivotal because LucifroN is going to keep producing units, and yes, he cannot afford knights right now. There's no more gold on the cards for him just yet. But kiljardi, he is looking at still fighting, and I feel like right now, this is exactly what JD wants. She knows that you're still stuck in feudal, and she wants to take one more fight and seal the deal. Now, another pickup here, JD creeping all so close, but they might have overextended here. The knights come on through to protect them. JD still stuck in level 2, but she is looking for that last bit of experience. She gets it, and now this horse JD is going to be making this a lot harder. Deerstones is standing there, grabbing the attention of the units, but all of a sudden, you see a shift in LucifroN's actions. He's like, let me move out. I got this. Going out on the map for the last two deer there at the front and the ball, but now the archers are trying to fire away. JD's champions are coming on forward, being very careful. Knights make a pretty good connection here. JD feeling a lot more confident, healing up the army, and honestly, this could just win the fight.
Yeah, I think it's too much here for kiljardi. There were no spares left. Such great micro from LucifroN to snipe them out in these fights. And kiljardi, you really have to ask yourself in this case, was this worth it in the end? Fighting prolonged feudal against JD, is it, rarely does it feel like the right choice, specifically because of this reason. When that level up comes through, the companions come through, the additional stats on JD as well as the additional AoE damage from the ability, it's so much. The healing gets improved as well. It turns her into a terror in these mid-feudal fights that are it's just becomes so tough to overcome. You gotta wonder whether the castle timing behind this, somewhere squeezed in there, would have been optimal for kiljardi, but I mean, at the same time, the issue is really, if you just keep taking these small engagements,
is just going to favor JD so much in the long run. And I don't know if you caught it earlier, Mareka. At one point, Kiljardi forgot about his double production. He had 800 stone in the bank. We're talking like there could have been so many more Keshiks, so many more archers, so many more spears. It might have been enough to make the difference, but I think at this point, it's too little too late. LucifroN, with a surge in confidence, dives directly under the primary TC. JD leading the charge. Massive surround AoE onto the backline and the Keshiks. It's too much. It's again. French is becoming Kiljardi's kryptonite in this series from LucifroN. GG gets called. LucifroN leads 2-0.
That was fantastic by LucifroN. The fact that he could hold kiljardi back from just destroying his economy constantly, running out of wood, running out of everything at a point, but he prevailed. Amazing comeback here by LucifroN, because it looked like kiljardi had this in the bag. We can see that military value lead. It was significant for kiljardi for a significant amount of time. He just could not get the damage done as the army was all in one spot at the same time. LucifroN recognizing this and ensuring that he tries to get as many resources and make just a slither more units every single time he could to stay ahead and stay in this game.
Just a masterclass by LucifroN on how to play these Night Civs to their full extent. The man just, again, sticking to his comfort, sticking what he does best, what he does sublimely, I would say, just showcasing how effective these Night Civs can be. And this has always been the case to me. I feel like this is how I felt about these Civs for a while, about JD and French in particular. You know, they've had times where they're strong, they've had times where they're weak, they've had times where they're kind of average, which I would say is the case now. But these civilizations reward execution more so than most others in the game. And when the execution is there, you can see you can turn the tide in even the most gruesomely disadvantaged games, as was the case here on this map, and in the first game as well. In the counter match up against Malians, and now on what is essentially the kings of excavation by most player standards, the Mongols, again get denied by LucifroN in this series. And Kiljardi finds himself with a mountain to climb.
And it felt like that one fight that we pointed out, it was just the pivotal point for him here. The fact that the spearmen were just picked up by LucifroN, every archer ensuring they get a spearman down so the knights can flourish. It showed exactly what he's capable of. And those StarCraft speed skills just coming on through, absolutely dominating. Now, this is a pretty big blow, I think, for kiljardi, as this was his game for quite a significant amount of time. And just like we saw in the previous series as well, a player, when you lose a game where you feel like, okay, this was the one, it's also that mental toll. This was the one game we could see kiljardi take his first match against LucifroN. So as we saw the stats before, kiljardi has never taken a game off of LucifroN, and this could have been the one. But now we'll see if Scandinavia is the map that kiljardi breaks the curse of LucifroN on his life.
And I have to say, I respect Kiljardi's confidence to pick for his third map in this series, Scandinavia, a water-based hybrid map up against one of the Spanish bulls here, LucifroN, who has access to... Wait a second. Okay, he has the Jushi against Kiljardi's HRE. There could be a cook here. There could be a cook here for Kiljardi. And it's something I may have witnessed myself in the qualifiers for this tournament. I'm curious to see how much that manifests itself in this game here. Because I think HRE could theoretically just ignore water here completely and go pro scouts instead.
Don't say stuff like that. We're Scandinavia. Scandinavia is the only bit of water we get to see this tournament. We need a little bit of water play, but yes. The thing is, I think the value of the deep sea fish just, it's so apparent. You can't just let your opponent have it and sit back. Sure, you can go pro scouts, but doesn't that just allow your opponent to already benefit from that fishing economy? The other thing we've been seeing with HRE, though, is that barracks. So that early game barracks does feel a little bit scary when you are able to just pump out enough units and shut down the dock from the get-go. So I don't know. Maybe Kiljardi, with Kill in his name, I always say he has one thing on his mind, and that's to be aggressive. So if he does give Zushi the time of day to do something as such, because Zushi sometimes on this map can also be a little bit of a greedy goose, as the resources sometimes spawn quite heavily into the middle of the map. So I don't know. I think both of these guys can pull out something crazy, but the fact that he allowed LucifroN on a water map, I don't know if you guys were around 2 years ago, but when this game came out, you did not let Vortex or LucifroN touch water. If you did, you were dead. You knew that was your throwaway map. People tried, and they did not conquer. It was a situation where even Marine Lord, Beastie back then as well, they would get onto that map and be like, okay, we're going to give it our best. But most of the time, LucifroN and Vortex would always prevail. Now, Kiljardi, he's just a brave man, or he's got a very creative plan.
Something we're going to have to find out quite soon. There really are a lot of possibilities on this map. Like you mentioned, Marika, right? It's a hybrid map. There's deep sea fish. Water takes priority in theory, at least. But there's also a lot of day here. There's a lot of day. Those fishing ships take so long to pay off, and the distances are quite large between them and the docks on this map. I don't know if either player will do it. I think it's maybe something that's still not quite explored enough. We'll have to see. But both of these saves, I think, can do it so well on this map. But we'll just have to find out.
Let's hop on in. Guys, game number 3, match point. It's time for Kiljardi to show us what he's got. So in the orange, we have our grandpa Kiljardi on HRE already going for his dock. LucifroN on the other side, though. Let's see. He is just cooking normal old juicy, no dark age water shenanigans. He's just going for the normal age up. Now, what would be quite interesting to me here is if LucifroN goes fast castle into lances, because we've seen that Zushi timing that they have, because you can just shut down your opponent's economy so much. We can see the spawn of Kiljardi is also not very optimal in terms of defenses. So LucifroN could play it dirty and go straight for it as well. There's just so many choices for these two. I don't know where they land.
There is great value in getting a really fast castle age timing here as the Jushi's legacy against the HRE. It always feels so great to get there before the HRE start taking those relics away. If you secure at least 3, you feel so comfortable. You know that the Regnus, although it's still going to give great value, it won't be as much value as it normally could. And then if you take even 4 away from them, then you're really in a fantastic position up against them. However, Kiljardi is going to open up with that dock for us, and LucifroN doing the standard. Something Jushi has become somewhat notorious for on these hybrid maps especially. He just skips the dock entirely. He goes for that fast feudal age timing with the meditation gardens. We've seen it so much on Kawasan as well, and now we're seeing it on Scandinavia today as well by LucifroN. And the idea is you get the meditation gardens in ASAP, you get the resources ticking, and you can go for a denial timing with a fast galley onto the side where your opponent went water, and essentially win the water on that side at least outright because of the timing. It requires some pretty strict macro, some pretty good resource allocation with your villages early on. You need to have the right balance of food to afford that galley, but also wood to afford the dock and the galley. So it's not an easy thing to balance, takes a bit of practice. But someone like LucifroN should be pretty comfortable with these kind of timings, as now the meditation gardens in a very conservative spot, I want to say, is going to come up on the berries, the wood and the stone. I mean, there's good resource yield here. And it's not going to deny him too much in terms of idle time with walking. Really, he couldn't really hope for a much better one on this map.
Of course, that's a good one because you get the stone as well. And the stone can pivot so quickly, especially on a water map. Yeah, so if he goes for a counterplay on the water, he's got that going for him. Or we could just see him now. Oh, no, never mind, guys. He's going on wood. He's not going to play it dirty. He is most likely going to go pro scouts, just like you said, Mariette. It's like you know these. It's like you play this game professionally. Oh my goodness. Now, LucifroN, though, he has to be careful because if you do go pro scouts, yes, you've got amazing food. But you need to be careful not to let HRE run away with that economy on water, because on water, Achery is the actual devil.
The actual devil
Down to
indeed,
dog.
the Archenchapel even now is going to pay so much fruit economically. And yeah, I did think maybe there's a potential for that pro scouts here from LucifroN. But that sneaky little villager, I think, has other plans on his mind as, yeah, the blueprint is there, but now gets cancelled, replaced. The blueprint is there. The dock is going to come up. Galley behind this most likely for LucifroN, although there does seem to be a slight mismatch with the gold. There's way too much gold in the bank for him right now, more than he can use, really. So, needs to fix that. Now, this dog should go up. Like, you can... This would work with any other villager, the scout and villager combination. If you're there before or right as the dog begins building, you will be able to kill the villager in time. But this is a Jushi villager. Like the Chinese villagers, they have that extra build speed. So, yeah, good luck trying to stop that dog.
Now, even with the dock coming up first, we do see that kiljardi coming up now, and he's building the military ship first. He's going to be able to idle those fishing ships for a little bit, but he's prepping the resources for when he hits that age up, which is pretty soon. Those guys are going to be able to get back to safety, but he'll be able to queue up the military ship pretty early on. Now, we do see, a demolition ship coming up right after, which it feels pretty tough because now you've got an archer ship, which gets countered by the springald ship, but then the demo ship comes and he just seals the deal. But LucifroN is being sneaky about this. He hides the fact that he got a demo ship. He should have been able to see it, but he knows the range of a dock. This is the precision by LucifroN on water. He knows what that dock can see, and he's making sure that there is none of it. This will be a surprise, and he's going to need to pay the price. kiljardi already queued up the second ship as well, getting a galley to ensure that he does not die to any shenanigans, such as a demo ship, which is about to come on in, and it will make a connection, but the fishing boats are going to be in the position to repair, so he goes right past. He tries to get the hit on the fishing boats as well, but at the same time here, that galley is getting dangerously low. LucifroN now queuing up his own springald ship. As you can see, that galley is running for its life.
Yeah, beautiful micro from either side there, actually, I have to say. LucifroN skirting around with the demo, not detonating it early, recognizing the damage necessary that on the Hulk in order for it to be taken down by a demo hit, and kiljardi beautifully pulling and marking the fishing ships to not eat a demo hit with them, but also keep the springald ship just on enough health to survive. It takes 3 full frontal hits with the galley to bring it low enough under the dock's healing for the demo to take down 2 outside of the dock's healing. And these players, of course, at this level do recognize this, so understand it perfectly, and that level of knowledge manifests itself in that micro. So well done by kiljardi early on to stem the aggression here from LucifroN on water. And LucifroN's own demolition ship, with the demolition ship from the back connects from LucifroN, takes out kiljardi's springald ship and his junk as well. Actually, no, LucifroN's junk is going to fall behind this potentially, but his own springald ship is very low behind this as well, and there are no fishing boats on this pond here for LucifroN. Yeah, the springald ship is about to fall to this springald, unless he can heal it quickly, but no, he cannot. There is no fishing ship, so the fleet from kiljardi might look to fall, but there is a second springald ship on the field now, on the waters, I should say.
And he micros it so well, trying to ensure that these guys can get maximum damage out. Another demo ship looking to find its way right onto him, and it looks like that will be a perfect connection. Galley ensuring the counter demo does not hit its mark. Behind this, though, LucifroN is starting to float a bit of food. You know, he's getting his economy is looking pretty decent. kiljardi realizes, hey, I might be losing this water. It is what it is. Let me go on to the other side. But if LucifroN spots this, we're going to be seeing another heavy fight coming on out. Demo ship coming on out now from kiljardi again. Repairing coming in as well, and another demo ship right there to blow up the fishing ship in the process as well.
Oh, that was almost enough. Just one more hit needed, and he gets it! The hit comes in from LucifroN's springald ship just before the demolition ship detonates, so it falls as well. Again, the sides are even on that side of the water. The exchanges have been brutal, either side actually. However, meanwhile, a second dock did go up for kiljardi on that southern pond, and a dock went up for LucifroN as well, who now has the water tempo here with that initial galley, training some of his own fishing ships behind this as well. LucifroN, kind of as expected from this man, looking in pretty comfortable position on the water.
And he stopped investing, Myriad. Not Completely. He did stop there for a second. He was floating a bit of extra gold here, but the food is telling me a story. It tells me a story of I'm not spending everything. I'm trying to shut down the water. We do see that stone finally being utilized as naval arrow slits is coming on out. Kiljardi a little bit focused on the vision there, and the scout is hammering away. He does connect onto Kiljardi's ship again, and LucifroN making ships, but not over-committing on this now. LucifroN also, you can see adding that second dock. Maybe that's exactly what he was waiting for here. The wood income is looking pretty good, so he's spending every bit he can while allowing himself that little bit of leeway onto the gold to make demo ships as needed.
Yeah, precisely right. And LucifroN is going to look to reinvest once again. He was sliding with that castlage before, like you mentioned, thinking, maybe I'm ahead enough here. But I think, he's playing it safe. You want to at least fully secure one side, really. You can then maybe try to contest the other side. But now both sides are still under contention here as LucifroN overextends a little bit. The Springboard ship barely survives. The galley looks to take some shots, but actually misses on it. The Hawk is going to position, almost gets a hit in, but not quite. The demo is, oh my god, it's so scary for either side here.
LucifroN is able to predict every arrow.
Yeah.
Oh. He's just so good at knowing exactly where it will hit and when he needs to pull off. We now see that these villagers are running a little bit low on the food department, so they do move out onto the next berries for themselves. Now, this is a hungry civilization if you are fighting these intense ones, but Kiljardi is actually looking at the next switch. He's going for horsemen instead, understanding that his opponent will be conquering him on water, at least in some capacity. He needs to find a way on land. Now, the thing is, with that horseman, he is going for the dock. But the problem is, LucifroN now knows that there's a horseman on the field. If that horseman went straight for the base, he would have been able to strike without LucifroN being able to react. Behind this, LucifroN should already be getting a production building in. Now, the demo ships, they're looking for a connection, perfectly microed back, but these ships from LucifroN are quite far forward, and the demo ship is on its way out. It will most likely take that one down, but two demo ships looking for their targets as well. Beautiful connection. The ships have all sunk, and LucifroN says, "Get out of my water. This is mine."
Yeah, the hits are massive on the... Yeah, it's been coming, hasn't it? I mean, the triple demo to take out the triple Springboard ship there. Massive hit found by LucifroN. And with the arrow slit on this side of the pond, I don't think this side is up for grabs anymore whatsoever for Kiljardi, who is now also losing control of the secondary pond as well. Double Springboard ship again in for LucifroN, and his signature demo-orientated water play style. 3 more coming in, sniping out the galley and the fishing ship. Hit comes on the Springboard ship as well, leaving it in its death throes. Final fishing ship goes down. The Springboard ship is also going to go down. Only one Springboard ship left on this side for Kiljardi, who is again reinvesting, but he's only still... Actually, no, he is on 2 docks, so he could potentially re-secure this side, but he has to invest so much. And behind this, LucifroN can just invest so freely in fishing ships on the other side. And really, theoretically, he has the stronger feudal age with Zuganu as well, if it were come down to some land fighting, so he's not too worried about Kiljardi's land military presence either, as long as he respects it soon. But on water, he is looking firmly in control.
Now he's got a barracks ready for defenses, but there are archers on the side of Kiljardi. The problem is just there is a tower, and archers, they don't scare a tower too much. Now we do see Kiljardi making another military ship, and this is gonna tell us he just wants to keep that pressure up. You cannot let it stop. But the problem is, if we look at the resources, LucifroN is edging towards castle, and that is going to come in pretty quickly. Kiljardi getting wheelbarrow now, trying to get those villagers to just work a little bit harder. Stable coming on in from LucifroN, and this is going to mean that we're going to be seeing lances on the field pretty soon. Whatever Kiljardi is planning on making, they are not the answer for lances.
Yeah, precisely right. I mean, the horseman and archer investment here is just not really going to find the damage that Kiljardi needs. This is quite typical of Kiljardi, do that little transition from the water into land to try to counteract some damage there that you had suffered on the water yourself. But LucifroN is fishing freely on the northern pond. Fishing going on the southern pond as well. Bit of idle time on this wood line. Picks up a couple of villages, it looks like. So decent damage found there, but I mean, the Manlu Academy is coming in. Kiljardi is so far away from his own age up. He has no hope but to reinvest into spears here if he wants to hold the night timing that's about to come in from LucifroN, who did slow down on the naval investment behind this at least. So that arrow, that emplacement on the dock should do quite a bit of work in his favor to not lose out there despite his lack of investment into the navy, as he is lagging severely behind ships, but triple Lancer in queue now for him. And I feel like even if he loses that side of the water, he still has the north side, and the damage that these Lancers can do might prove a bit too much for Kiljardi.
Now the Lancer is out, but it looks like Kiljardi is not investing anymore in feudal. He wants to go castle himself. The problem is just Lancers travel quickly, and they're going to be going the speed of horse across the map once they take care of this army on the front line. You see those Lancers? They make it look like your units are made of paper. Another piece of paper, just on the ground. And now they have one target, and that is opponent's side of the map. Because with these Lancers, he is going to be able to do work. We see the Regnus Cathedral coming on out, but with the Cathedral, you're obviously expecting to get some relics. If I look at the position of these relics, I don't think Lancers will allow any of that. Monk's now out for LucifroN as well. He's going to be doing a little bit of relic play himself. Kiljardi instantly queuing up the spears. He knows these Lancers are coming, but he's going to be in a lot of danger to keep them from killing his units. The wood line has been chopped quite far away from that TC, so he will need to move a little bit to safety there. The water does cost quite a bit, but there is a safe wood line up top, so these guys will not be finding the damage they need just yet.
And behind this, the economic severity is starting to really escalate here in favor of LucifroN. 64 economy, 251 now in favor of LucifroN. The fishing ships have been working overtime for him. Meanwhile, only now is Kiljardi starting to add his own fishing ships on that southern pond. And this timing is really, really brutal here for Kiljardi. There's only 2 spears on the field to defend against 8 Castle Age Lancers. This is a horrible situation to be in, and such a demanding commandeering position here for LucifroN to be in. He feels so comfortable just spamming knights like this and raiding all over the place, as Kiljardi fighting with villagers at this point to try to secure his position, but the timing is just so off here. It's too many Lancers and not enough space. He went for them at the same time as he was aging up. Makes you wonder whether they should have went for them either before or after he aged up instead, but this is brutal. So many villagers went down already. The economic difference is staggering. Behind this, the relics are all going towards LucifroN. 3 monks on the field, 3 relics as well for Kiljardi. One of them did just die actually, so a third one is now in production. And I'd be very surprised if we can get even 1 relic, Mareka.
I don't think we're going to be staying in the game long enough for that, because that's another set of villagers that will be going down. Kiljardi, he's resilient, but he is not made of steel. These villagers are just folding. You can see, one by one, falling onto the ground. He's got control of the bottom water. Yes, so he does have a little bit of food income. But the problem is, the gold has been shut down. The wood is getting shut down. The farms cannot even be built. 20 villagers now dead. And those Lancers are doing pretty good work against these knights coming out from Kiljardi, because they are single-digit knights, and he has had enough, guys. He taps out. This is going to be a 3-0 for LucifroN. And I think another lesson for people to not put LucifroN on water.
Exactly. LucifroN once again showcasing that he is back, and he is back for action. Maybe not as committed as he was before. We have heard rumblings that, he's not quite full-time like his brother. Perhaps we can confirm in an interview coming up shortly, I'm sure, the winner's interview. But just such a dominant performance by LucifroN here, showcasing his strengths beautifully with the French, with the JD, and now once again utilizing those knights to their fullest in this game number 3 after an excellent display of water control and confidence, something he's been known for so very, very long. And Kiljardi has really put up a fight. These games, at the end of the day, were all really, really close at different points, but LucifroN just edging out
bit by bit in these situations, time and time again. And it really does come down to the very small things at this level of gameplay. You won't see massive blunders very often unless they're forced. So it becomes a game of accruing small, numerous advantages throughout the course of the game, which eventually mount up to a point where it can no longer be ignored. And it manifests itself in a decisive victory here in game number 3, especially as LucifroN continues through, and it is all over for Kiljardi in this tournament.
Now, kiljardi, he definitely put up a good fight. It was so good to see him back here in an S-tier tournament where he belongs. But he will have a better luck next time, I would say. Against someone like LucifroN, you do need a lot of work. But LucifroN coming back strong, back into the scene, dominating at least this match. We need to see what he's going to be doing outside of this. So, guys, we will be joined shortly by Mr. LucifroN for an interview. But for the rest of you, just be ready, because after this, we will be doing Voldemort Numedan. So get your snacks, get your tea, get your coffee. We have a pretty good series waiting for us. So let's hop on over to the interview and see what Mr. LucifroN has to say. You did it! 3-0, clean sweep. How does it feel to just be absolutely dominating in that game?
I mean, the result is 3-0, right? So that's obviously as good as it gets. But then in-game, they felt really hard. Like in all 3 games, at some point, I was worried that I may be losing all the games. So yeah, eventually, I managed to win all of them. But yeah, I don't know. It felt really tough, especially like the first 2 games. There were really points where, I mean, I was not about to tap out, but I really thought to myself, this is really bad.
It felt like you were forcing him into, or the French game against Malians, you were forcing him into the late game. No, you're very comfortable. But for a while, it did look like he was about to run you over. I just love the fact that you can actually delay the game and constantly do the raids on the back line to ensure that the game does extend. Do you just feel better about your late game than your opponents most of the time?
I mean, it depends on the opponent and the matchup and so on. Like, for instance, I had 4 relics, right? And at some point at that game, like on the one hand, I felt comfortable in the sense that I had keeps and the red palace everywhere. So I think it was really hard for him to do any damage to me. But on the other hand, I kept trying to raid and I got nothing on it. Like I felt I was just dumping resources into nothing. So I was a bit worried. Like at one point I thought, if he gets some siege and he really goes for it, I may just die because the fights were like felt bad. But then I guess my economy was just better, and at some point I get a gold bank and transition to knights, and my army was just too good for what he had. But yeah, that game, especially before I got the red palace, I was a bit worried that he may kill me if he actually attacked.
That game was an absolute monster, because I felt like with your composition of the horsemen and the arbs, you were in prime position, but you just couldn't break through that economy of the Malians. At least initially, he focused so much on getting the military, just more than yours, and it was paying off for a while, but your bank was so strong. Did you expect this series to go this well for you, though?
I'm not sure. Like usually against kiljardi, I've done reasonably well in the past, but then I played against him in the qualifier for this very tournament, and it was a 3-1. But again, some games were really close, so I was a bit worried going into the matchup. Like I was thinking, like yesterday and so on, talking with my brother about the draft, and I think in that sense I made a good job in the sense that I denied a lot of his comfort picks, I would say.
Yeah.
Like even if the matchups maybe are not bad for him, like Mali against Friends or HRE against Sushi and so on, I feel that I force him into matchups that he doesn't like playing, or at least that's what I think.
And you're definitely making it look like French and JD are actually those S-tier picks people should be focusing on, because I know they were doing pretty well in the previous tournament, but this one, they have been lacking quite a bit and they haven't taken so much priority. Do you feel like they're still at that top level and people are just not utilizing them, without giving away your secrets, of course?
I don't know, like I picked those tips because I really like them. Like I feel very comfortable playing them, but I wouldn't say right now they are just ignore them. Just let me play them. Don't pick them yourself if you're a player in this tournament, because these are not really strong picks. In all honesty, I think they are okay. They have their matchups, but right now you have Rus, HRE, China, and a few others that are just simply better in land. And then the ones that are not maybe S+ tier, like Mali, for instance, is still a counter to them, right? So, and in the other hand as well, the ships that are weak against those, like against French and Jan, such as Delhi, is not really played right now. So it feels like everything is against picking them, but they are still, like, I would say, my most comfortable picks to play. So that's why I still pick them, even though I don't think they are objectively that good.
Okay. Now, my final question to you will be: Is LucifroN back?
I mean, I've been playing already for, like, practicing for 3 months after more or less an 8 or 9 month break. Honestly, I thought I would do better. Like it's been harder than I thought to get back in shape and so on. Right now in practice, I think I'm doing okay. Like, I mostly practice with Vortex and then a bit against like Marine Lore and so on. But against Vortex, I think I'm doing okay. Like, I feel like I'm doing fine. But
Yeah.
honestly, I just think I need to get better at drafting. Like, maybe I'm coping, but I really think that the series I've lost this tournament, my drafts were just not good. Like, I ended playing, but not only objectively, but matchups that I don't like playing. So I just think I need to think a bit, more about drafting in the next series. I think I'm playing demo, so I think I just need to focus a lot on the draft for that one and hope for the best, right? I think if I win that matchup and I make top 8, that's already a result that I can be happy about.
Yeah, it's a pretty good comeback in all cases, because you were gone for a while, and I know 3 months feels like a long time that you're already practicing, but it's a pretty big hill to climb against how players have improved. I can imagine coming back into the scene, you're like, whoa, that guy's really good now. So
Yeah, to add on that,
yeah.
not only that they get better and so on, but like in AoE4, because of the drafting system and so on, like, there are so many matchups that you need to know about. Like, you need to practice so many possible scenarios that if you take a break and let's say there's a couple patches and 200 matchups have changed and you come back, like, I won't say it's like starting from scratch again, but yeah, it's really, like, again, it's really harder than I thought. And even my unit control isn't what it used to be, but it's just a matter of practice, I guess.
Maybe we're all getting old as well. But congratulations. And I'm really glad to see you facing off against Demo next week. I hope it's going to go well, and we'll see you back here on the winner's interview. But yeah, until then, and thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.